Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and today we're taking a look at another one of the Leader class toys. We're taking a comparison look at Ultra Magnus. Of course, here on the left is the Generation 1 version. The original Generation 1 version, I should point out. This isn't like the one that you originally saw on my channel so long ago. This is the genuine original with the extra paint and the rubber tires. And then over here we have the new SIEGE version of Ultra Magnus. As you can see, there is quite a considerable difference between the two toys. Like, for one, the newer version is somewhat shorter, but it does still hit all the right bars with with the original. It's in darker colors as well, which more closely matches the animation artwork from the series than the original toy, so that works out too. Plus, it's given a nice, little more modern look and isn't made as an exact copy of the original, as the original toy over here was still designed by Takara's Diaclone toys, so it still had features on it that were intended to occupy the little tiny human drivers. Whereas this one is intended to be exactly what it is, a full sentient robot. So some of the design aspects have been improved. And in a lot of other areas as well, which we're about to cover. Articulation-wise, the original Ultra Magnus only had it in his arms, as we could rotate his arms all the way around, like so, at the shoulder. We could bend his arm at the elbow, like so, and he did have a swivel at the bicep. So, the original Generation 1 Ultra Magnus had the G.I. Joe swivel arm battle grip. But that was all he could do. We couldn't move anything else, except maybe to adjust the missile launchers. That was it. Whereas on the new figure, we get considerably more. We can turn his head from side to side, and it is on a bit of a ball joint, so it can look up and down a bit. He is articulated at the shoulder, so you can move his arm out about so far, and you can rotate the arm all the way around. He can bend at the elbow 90 degrees, and he does have the swivel at the bicep. He does have a swivel here at his hip, so you can turn him at the hip. He can do almost a full splits. How much of one he can do depends on how much of his arms are in the way. You can, of course, raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees, and you can bend him at the knee about 90 degrees. So, quite a considerable improvement over the original toy. Plus, of course, the original toy comes with extra guns. He has a couple of black guns here mounted on his legs, so that basically when he gets done firing his main rifle, he can simply throw it aside and draw two more guns. Something you might see Ultra Magnus do. Of course, a lot of what helps on this is the redesign of the armor that goes around the figure. On the Generation 1 version, the armor was consisted entirely of the trailer, and the trailer didn't bend around at all. Whereas here on the new figure, the armor does still build up to form the trailer, but it's broken down into segments, so it can be taken apart and then reassembled into the trailer. Of course, some of you that are fans of the original toy are wondering if the inner robot is still just as cheap as what it was in the Generation 1 days. Well, let's get him down into that mode and take a look. Well, now, as you can see, it is a considerably different toy without the extra armor on. Of course, the Generation 1 version was basically a repaint of Optimus Prime. The SIEGE Ultra Magnus is not the SIEGE Optimus Prime. While they do sort of look halfway decently alike, they are not alike in the slightest. However, as an interesting note, this version of Ultra Magnus would be retooled to form the Galaxy upgrade Optimus Prime. So, in a way, it does come full circle on it. So, we can have some fun with that. Perhaps at another time. And of course, with it being the original version of Ultra Magnus, you can see now the paint details on the head. And see how well they match up here on the new SIEGE version. So they do line up pretty well. As far as articulation goes, the small version of Ultra Magnus did have quite a bit. He had the ability to rotate his arm at the shoulder, and you could bend his arm at the elbow, like so. You could move his legs at the hip, but you could only move them backward, and you could bend his leg at the knee, like so, and you could bend his ankle. And that would more or less be the end of it. Now, the new SIEGE Ultra Magnus, as you can imagine, has considerably more. Pretty much since he was the same with the armor, it's all the same things. Head can turn side to side, look up and down, the arms move like that, raise up like that, bend at the elbow, swivel at the bicep, turn at the hip, do a splits, up at the hip, and bend at the knee. But you also get some movement with the ankle, now that we don't have the cumbersome armor on him. So, all in all, a pretty nice upgrade to the toy. Now for the final bit. Let's get them all into their car carrier mode. Quite a considerable difference here on this mode, folks. Quite a considerable difference in the appearance. And of course, the Generation 1 version, this thing was designed as an open car carrier, and you could even retract this section down so that you could pretend to load Autobot cars onto it. Ultra Magnus could carry between 3 and 4 Autobot cars, depending on their size, in the trailer. So all in all, that was pretty handy, and quite a cute little feature. The trailer, of course, was attached to the truck by using the waist piece connector, mounted down here at the bottom, and it connected onto the posts here on the back of Ultra Magnus's legs. So it did allow the trailer to turn loosely, like a real trailer did. Of course, this one's on rubber tires, so it rolls pretty good for its age, all things considering. The new Ultra Magnus, while it's still a car carrier in spirit, it's really not designed to carry any of the other Autobot cars available, as the fact that the top of it is now made to basically be a combat deck of sorts, as this is where his gun is mounted. Of course, they've moved the missile launchers to the back, which isn't too bad. And of course, for extra options, you do have the ability to raise those guns up for even more firepower. But the interior is not designed for carrying any other cars, so that's an area that's totally gone. I'm kind of mixed about that, but I don't really see that as much of a great loss. In all honesty, folks, I really don't. Of course, how does this one roll on his all-plastic wheels? He rolls fairly good, but as you may notice, he's only rolling on the back wheels and the very front wheels. These sets of wheels here in the middle are elevated a bit so they don't roll. I don't know if that's just how it is on mine. It may be just how it's transformed. The added armor may be jacking the wheels up. But all in all, it still rolls good, so it's not bad. But of course, since the trailer is connected directly to the truck, it's not going to pivot in any direction. This is basically an armored battle truck. So don't expect Ultra Magnus to be making any tight turns like this. But still, it does pay a fair amount of homage to the Generation 1 Classic, but yet goes in its own direction. And as Ultra Magnus was always thought of as becoming a Cybertronian car carrier, it's nice to see one that actually does look more alien in appearance. So, I kind of like what they've done with it. It is a nice improvement and still grants plenty of articulation and play value. Now, if only it could just carry some of the cars. Oh well, maybe a future line in this Siege War for Cybertron line will get some smaller cars that can fit on the top of Ultra Magnus, and he can still carry out that function in spirit. We can dream, can't we? Anyway, that concludes my comparison review of Ultra Magnus. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. Also, share your thoughts about Ultra Magnus in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.